Hello everyone, this is me again with a new educational video, and today's topic is for class 9th, and the chapter under discussion is The Lost Child by Mulkraj Anand. Mulkraj Anand was born on 12 December 1905 and died on 28 September 2004. It means he was a 20th century Indian writer. He was prominent Indian writer in English. He wrote novels, he wrote short stories and critical essays in English. And he is known for his realistic and sympathetic portrayal of the poor in India. So, in this chapter also, we will have a sympathetic portrayal of a child. The theme of today's chapter is the working of a child's mind. How a child thinks that his parents are not good initially and later on he cannot live without his parents. So, child's love for his parents is also the theme. The theme is also the capricious and naughty nature of a child who does not remain content with one thing. Whatever he sees, he wants to have that thing. He lags behind. His parents are very far from him, and he was really busy doing his naughty actions. The thinking of a child towards the parents. What a child thinks of the parents. The worth of parents in the lives of children is shown here. The story is about a child, as I have already mentioned, that the whole story is centered around a child. The child goes to a fair with his parents, and it is quite natural, so many things would come in front of him. So the child is attracted by so many things that come in his way. He's excited to see the fairground, and when he reaches near the ground, he sees the ground, he's really excited. He is somewhat afraid and somewhat attracted with the crowd there. He wants a lot of things in the fair, and when he reaches the fair, he wants to have so many things, and he wants to make a request to his parents also for so many things. Knows the denial of his parents also. He knows that his parents would not buy him anything, but he had got desire to have all those things. He's lost in front of a roundabout, and it happens with him that he is lost there. He is very immersed in looking at the roundabout, and he does not know where his parents are. He is in panic mode. He is panic stricken. He is in fear. He runs here and there. He is in desperate condition after he loses his parents. And then it happens that a person sees him. He is really full of pity, seeing the condition of that boy, and he tries to solace him. He offered so many things to the boy. He was offered by strangers so many things, but he is now not interested in any of the things. He only wants to see his mother and father. He has lost his interest in whatever was there in the fair. Now, let's read the chapter The Lost Child. It was the festival of spring. The fair was held in the spring season. From the wintry, it was winter season, and from that wintry shades of narrow lanes and alleys emerged a gaily clad humanity. And because the fair was being organized there, so many people came out of their houses. They were in the streets. They were also heading towards the fair. So the narrow lanes and alleys, narrow roads and paths, and from those roads and from those paths emerged, came out a gaily clad humanity, came out so many persons, humanity, and they were wearing good clothes, multicolored clothes, and they were looking happy, gaily, happily clad, clothed, or dressed human being. They are also there on the roads, on the streets, on the lanes. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. So many people were moving towards the fair, and they were going there by different means. Some were walking on foot, and others were riding horses. Some were there sitting in carts, different types of carts. One little boy ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. One little boy was also there, accompanied his parents, and he was moving under the legs of his father. And he was full of, brimming over, he was full of life and laughter. Why? Because he was to go to fair, to see the fair. Come, child, come, called his parents, and he lagged behind, fascinated by the toys in the shops that lined the way. So, as it is the habit of children, he was having the same nature. He was attracted by whatever comes in his way, and he was fascinated he was attracted by the toys in the shop that lined the way, that the shops that were both sides of the road. So he was attracted by the toys that were there in the shops on the both sides of the road, and that's why he lagged behind. He lagged behind, he remained slow, and he remained behind. His parents had to call him to go with them. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call, his eyes still lingering on the receding toys. He hurried towards his parents. He went to his parents quickly, hurried. He went there quickly, his feet obedient. He obeyed the instruction, the call of his parents, his eyes still lingering, but he was interested in those toys. He wanted to have those toys. That's why his eyes were still looking at those toys, on the receding toys, and as he was moving ahead, the toys were getting back. So he was moving ahead and the toys were getting back, but his neck was towards it, his eyes were looking only to those toys. As he came to where they had stopped, and now he came to where his parents had stopped to wait for him, he could not suppress the desire of his heart. He could not suppress means oppress. He could not oppress his desire. It means what desire was there in his heart? He wanted to have those toys, even though he well knew the old, cold stare of refusal in their eyes. And he knew that his parents would have the same refusal, denial, and he knew that if he is going to say anything to his parents, that his parents should buy him anything, his parents will only refuse, not orally, but his parents would look coldly towards him. He knew that they would deny. Still he could not suppress his desires. Still he sat. And what did he plead? He pleaded, he requested, I want that toy. He said that he was willing to have those toys. His father looked at him red eyed. As he earlier had guessed, he knew that it was going to happen. His father looked at him angrily in his familiar tyrant's way. His father was looking at him like a tyrant, like a cruel person, his mother, melted by the free spirit of the day. But mothers are always soft hearted. That's why she melted by the free spirit of the day. It was a good day and they were there to enjoy, and that's why she was melted. And the day was tender, the day was soft. That's why the mother's feeling was soft, giving him her finger to hold. She gave the child her finger to hold and said, "Look, child, what is before you." She did not deny the child anything, but she wanted to attract the attention of, to divert the attention of her child towards the field. It was the flowering mustard field. So, where she wanted the boy to look at? She wanted the boy to look at those flowering mustard plants, that field full of mustard plants. And those plants are full of flowers, pale like melting gold. And those plants were looking like melting gold. As it swept across, it stretched, it spread miles and miles of even land. So she tried to attract the attention of the boy and divert the attention of that boy towards that yellow field. And like melting gold, and here the figure of speech simile is used. Like melting gold, he is comparing mustard field to melting gold. A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings, intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. When he looked at the field, he saw a dragonfly, and that dragonfly was bustling, moving here and there, or flying here and there with its gaudy, showy, shiny purple wings. The dragonfly was flying, and the dragonfly was intercepting, obstructing, stopping the way, the flight of a lone, lonely black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. A bee or a butterfly is going there in search of nectar of the flowers, and their way is intercepted by a group of dragonflies. The child followed them, and now the child was attracted toward those dragonflies. In the air, with his gaze, he was looking. He was looking at those dragonflies till one of them would still its wings, still unmoving. So stopped till one of them stopped moving its wings and rest, and he would try to catch it, and the boy would try to catch it, one of those dragonflies, but it would go fluttering, flapping up into the air, but the boy could not catch the dragonfly, and the dragonfly flew away, fluttering and flapping its wings. When he had almost caught it, then his mother gave a cautionary call. Again, he lagged behind, and his mother again gave a call of warning. Cautionary call, gave a call of warning to the boy. And her mother told him to accompany them. She said, "Come, child, come onto the footpath." She wanted the child to accompany them to the footpath. He ran towards his parents, gaily, happily he went there and walked abreast, side by side of them for a while. For some time he walked with his parents, being, however, soon left behind. But what happened? Nevertheless, he soon left behind, he lagged behind. Why he lagged behind again? Because he was attracted by the little insects, by the small insects and worms along the path. And there were small insects and worms there along the path, and he was attracted towards those worms and those insects as well that were teeming out, and those insects and those worms were coming out in a bulk from their hiding places. They were coming out from their hiding places to enjoy the sunshine, and the boy got attracted towards those worms or insects, and he lagged behind again. And again, the cautionary call from his parents, "Come, child, come." His parents called from the shade of grove, and now where the parents were, they were there in a grove, in a place surrounded by trees, where they had seated themselves on the edge of a well. There was a well, and the parents were seated themselves on the edge of that well, and they called the boy. He ran towards them. Again, he accompanied them. Again, he joined his parents. A shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the grove, because it was a grove surrounded by trees, and so many trees were there. So when he entered there, the young flowers from those trees fell onto the boy, and forgetting his parents, and again he forgot to join his parents, he began to gather the remaining petals in his hands. He began to gather those flowers, those petals. But lo, he heard the cooing of doves, and again his attention was diverted. Again he looked towards something else. So he looked towards the doves. So he was attracted by the cooing sound of those doves, and ran towards his parents, and he went towards his parents, shouting, the dove, and raining petals dropped from his forgotten hands, and he forgot those petals, and now he is thinking about only those doves, and those petals, those flowers fell from his hands. "Come, come, child, come, child, come," they called to the child, who had now gone running in wild capers. Now the child was running and jumping excitedly, energetically round the banyan tree, and gathering him up, catching him. The parents caught the boy. They took the narrow, winding footpath, and where they took the boy, and now they were heading towards a narrow, turning, a turning footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. And now they were moving on the way that was going to lead them towards the fair. As they neared the village, as they were near the village where the fair was to be, the child could see many other footpaths. So there were so many footpaths full of throngs, gathering of people, conversing to the whirlpool, conversing, moving towards a particular point. And all those roads, all those footpaths were leading to a particular place. And that is like a whirlpool for the boy. And that was the whirlpool of the fair. And felt at once repelled, unattracted, forced backwards, and fascinated. He was he was attracted, but at the same time, he was somewhat afraid by confusion of the world, and that crowd is like a confusion of the world for the boy, because he had never seen such a gathering there. He had never seen such crowd before in his life. That's why he was feeling repelled as well as fascinated. So he knew that he was going to enter that place, and that place is like the confusion of the world for the boy. And now, when they are there in the fair, a sweetmeat seller hawked He was crying, he was shouting to sell his wares. Gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi, he was shouting at the corner of the entrance, at the corner of the entrance of the fair, and a crowd pressed round his counter, and people were also gathering round the counter of the sweetmeat seller at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets decorated with leaves and silver gold. So there was an architecture, there was a structure in which many colored sweets were decorated with leaves of silver and gold, and at that place so many people gathered. They were pressing each other. They were trying to catch the attention of the sweetmeat seller, and the boy looked at that crowd. The child stared open eyed. He stared, he looked there. His eyes were wide open and his mouth watered. And his mouth started watering for the burfi that was his favorite sweet. So, what was his favorite sweet? It was burfi, and he wanted to have that burfi. His mouth started watering when he saw burfi. And I want that burfi. He slowly murmured. He did not speak aloud because he knew that his parents are not going to buy him anything. But he half knew, but he was not sure. As he begged, as he was requesting, he was murmuring and requesting in that low tone from his parents that his plea would not be heeded because his parents would say he was greedy. He knew that his request would not be entertained, would not be taken attention, would not be paid attention because his parents would say he was greedy. He knew that his parents would not buy him burfi. His parents would say him he was acting as a greedy person. That's why they would not buy him any sweet or even burfi. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. He did not wait for the answer. He moved on because he knew that his parents are not going to buy burfi. A flower seller hawked. Now the second thing that he saw, it was a flower seller. He was also hawking. He was also shouting to sell his wares. And what he was selling garland. And what he was shouting, a garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly drawn, irresistibly that he cannot control. He was attracted towards the garland of Gulmohar that he could not control himself. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured. Again he murmured. Again he spoke in a low tone. I want that garland. But he well knew, and he knew the answer. He knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. And now he knew that his parents would not buy him any garland, and they would accuse him that he is behaving very cheaply, that they are not anything to be heeded, they are not so important things. So, without waiting for an answer, he moved on. Again, he moved on without waiting for an answer. So, it was the second thing that he was attracted. First thing, the sweetmeat seller, burfi. Second thing, the flower seller, a garland of gulmohar. He was attracted. He wanted to buy, but he knew that his parents would not buy him anything. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green, and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away, attracted again by the rainbow glory of the silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire, overwhelming that he could not control, uncontrollable, powerful desire he was having to possess, to have them all. Now, what he sees here, he sees the balloon seller. He sees balloon salad there, and he was attracted by the rainbow glory of silken colors of those balloons. And that was really overwhelming desire for him to possess those balloons, to have those balloons. But he well knew, again he knew, his parents would never buy him the balloons, and what excuse this time his parents would give. His parents would say that he was too old, he was so old that he could not play with such toys. So that was the excuse for not buying balloons, that he was too old to play. He was so old that he could not play with the balloons. So he walked on farther. So he continued to walk. And now this is fourth thing that he sees, a snake charmer. The snake charmer was standing there playing a flute to a snake. The snake had coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend, like a neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. Now, the writer is describing the snake as well as the flute and the sound of that flute. The snake was looking very graceful when he was bending the neck like that of a swan, and the music is really very charming for the snake. The snake has got invisible ears because the snake's ears are not visible, and the music is getting into the ears of the snake like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall, as if a waterfall is there that is not visible, but the sound of that waterfall still comes to us. So he was attracted, the snake was attracted to that music. The music was like the music of the waterfall that was not seen. The child went toward the snake charmer. He was also attracted by the snake charmer's flute and by the sight of the snake as well. But knowing his parents had forbidden, and again he knew that his parents had forbidden, said no, denied him to hear such coarse, that is harsh, that is unpleasant, not good music as the snake charmer played. So he proceeded farther. He knew that his father would not let him stay there because they do not want that their son would be attracted towards such music. According to the father, the music was coarse. There was a roundabout in full swing, and now the child is attracted towards the roundabout. There was a roundabout, there was a swing, and it was in full swing. It was swinging there. Men, women, children carried away in a whirling motion. They were being carried away in that swing, in that roundabout, in whirling motion, in revolving motion. Oh, the roundabout was whirling, and the people were enjoying the whirling motion, sitting in the roundabout. Shrieked. People were shouting. They cried with dizzy laughter. They were laughing and they were feeling dizzy. They were feeling as if their head is spinning. But still they were laughing. People were enjoying. The child watched them intently for some time with intention. The child watched the whole scene and then he made a bold request. Now, for the first time, he wanted to make a request in a bold way, in a brave manner, aloud. I want to go on the roundabout. Please, father, mother. And now he requested from his father and mother to let him enjoy that roundabout. And now it comes that the whole scenario changes. The whole mentality of that child changes because he does not find his parents there. There was no reply. He requested his parents, but no reply was there. And when he turned to look at his parents, they were not there. His parents were missing ahead of him. In front of him, they were not there. He turned to look on either side. He looked on both sides. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. So he looked all about, but he could not find his parents. And now, what is his condition after he lost his parents? A full deep cry rose within his dry throat. He cried aloud, and with a sudden jerk, with a sudden movement of his body, he ran crying in real fear. And now he was really afraid. Now he was in real fear. Mother, father, he was shouting for his mother and father. Tears rolled down. He was weeping. Tears were falling from his eyes, hot and fierce. And his tears were hot. His tears were fierce, fierce like fire, very hot, intense. So much sadness is there in that boy. His flushed face was convulsed with fear, and now, as his face was red, flushed, and now the face was convulsed with fear, convulsed, having or showing violent movement. Now his face was showing fear. Panic stricken, he was panic stricken. He was having fear, he was having pain, he was having fear. He was afraid. He ran to one side first, then the other, hither, thither, in all directions. So he went here and there. All directions he went, knowing not where to go. He did not know where to go, where he could find his parents. Mother, father wailed, he shouted, he cried aloud. His yellow turban came untied. His turban that was yellow, it came untied, it got loosened, and his clothes became muddy. His clothes also got dirty, got muddy. Having run to and fro in a race of running for a while. So the boy ran for a while, to and fro, here and there, he ran for a while. He stood defeated, and now he stood there. He felt defeated because he did not find his parents. His cries suppressed into sobs. Earlier he was crying aloud, but now that cry suppressed turned into sobs. At little distance, on the green grass, he could see through his filmy eyes men and women talking. And now, at some distance, he could see men and women talking there, or throng of men and women he could see with his filmy eyes. Filmy eyes because his eyes are full of tears. That's why a sheet of tears are there, and through that sheet of tears, he saw those men and women. He tried to look intently, with intention. Deliberately, he looked there among the patches of bright yellow clothes. So people were wearing bright yellow clothes, and among the patches of bright yellow clothes, or among the crowds of people wearing bright yellow clothes, he looked there, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people, who seemed to laugh and talk. And the people were laughing and talking just for the sake of laughing and talking, because now the boy is in the condition that he could not enjoy anything. And the people who were laughing there, he did not like the laughing of those people. Why? Because he is not feeling good. He is feeling helpless there. He ran quickly again. Again he ran, this time to a shrine temple, to which people seemed to be crowding. People crowded there, people were thronging there, gathering there. Even little inch of space here was congested with men. Every little inch of space here in front of the temple, was congested, crowded with men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering, mother, father. So he went there, he went in front of the temple, though there was much rush, so many people were there, not a slight space is there. even a little inch of space is not there. Still, he managed to move ahead, and he was sobbing, and he was murmuring only, full of sobs, and in sobs he was saying only mother and father. Near the entrance of the temple, however, the crowd became very thick, and when he was moving ahead towards the temple, the crowd was getting thicker. Men jostled each other, they were pushing each other. Heavy men they were, with flashing, shiny, and angry, murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. So many people were there, strong persons were there, they were pushing each other, they were very angry, looking at each other. The poor child struggled to push a way between their feet. So the boy managed to go there through that crowd, but knocked to and fro. But as he was moving through that crowd, he was being pushed here and there by the brutal movement, by the brutal, cruel movement of the people. The people were really angry. They wanted to get ahead. They wanted to have blessing of God, and they were pushing each other. So in that condition, he was being pushed here and there. He might have been foot, trampled underfoot, trampled, crushed underfoot, had he not shrieked, shouted at the highest pitch of his voice. So, if he had not shouted, he might have been trampled under the feet of those people. If he had not shouted, he might have been trampled, he might have been crushed under the feet of those people. And he shouted at the highest pitch of his voice, "Father, mother!" A man in the surging crowd, in the rising crowds, in the increasing crowd, a man heard his cry, and the man bent a bit with great difficulty, and he lifted that boy in his arms. So ultimately, he had got someone to which he could express his sorrows. "How did you get here, child?" the man asked. "Whose baby are you?" the man asked as he steered clear, as he moved clear of the mass. So the man took the boy out of that crowd. The child wept more bitterly. He wept more bitterly. He cried louder than ever now, and only cried, and he was only crying, "I want my mother, I want my father." The man tried to soothe, the man tried to console that boy, to comfort that boy by taking him to the roundabout. At first, he took him to the roundabout, and he asked him if he would have a ride on the horse. He gently asked the boy as he approached the ring. As he approached the ring, he asked the boy if he wanted to have a ride on that horse. The child was not willing. The child's throat tore into a thousand shrill sobs. The child was crying louder. His throat was getting torn into a thousand harsh, unpleasant sobs, and he only shouted. He was only shouting, he was only crying, and he was saying only one thing: "I want my mother, I want my father." The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swing cobra, and now where the man took him to, where the snake charmer was still playing his flute, and the snake or the cobra was swaying, moving, following the movement of the flute. "Listen to that nice music, child," he pleaded. The man requested, the man wanted to console, to comfort the boy. But the child shut his ears. Now he is not interested in that music. Earlier the music interested the boy, but now he just shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain and shouted in the same strain, and now the strain, and now the note, and now the sound is double. I warned my mother, I warned my father. The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. And now the man took him to the balloon seller. Earlier he was attracted, and now, would you like a rainbow colored balloon? He persuasively, convincingly, requestingly asked the boy if he wanted to have those rainbow colored balloons. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed. The child was not interested in taking those balloons. I want my mother, I want my father. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore carried the man carried him to the gate where the flower seller sat. And now the man took him to the flower seller. Look, can you smell those nice flowers? He wanted to attract the boy's attention towards those flowers. Would you like a garland to put round your neck? Earlier he was attracted by the garland of Gulmohar. The child turned his nose away, but now he does not like the aroma, the fragrance of those flowers from the basket, and reiterated, and he repeated his sob. I want my mother, I want my father. Thinking to humor, to entertain, to console, to comfort his disconsolate, unhappy, sad, charge, attack of sadness by a gift of sweets. So the man thought that he could comfort the boy, he could distract the boy from weeping, he could attract the attention of the boy towards the sweets, and he could make the boy quiet. The man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. What sweet would you like, child? And now he asked what sweets he would like. He asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed. And now the child had lost his interest in Buffy as well. I want my mother, I want my father. So this was the chapter, and it was really a good and thought-provoking chapter, and it had got a great message. The moral of the chapter is that the ultimate happiness rests only when we are among our family members. Earlier he was happy, though his parents are not going to buy him anything, but he was happy that time. Parents know what is important for a child, what should be given to them, and what should be denied. And they know what is good for us and what is not good. And the parents would only buy those things that are good for us. And next is we cannot find solace. Solace, we cannot find comfort in material things. Earlier, when the boy was there with his parents, he was attracted by all those material things. But he had got emotions. He had got love of his parents there with him. That's why he was attracted towards those material things. But when his parents lost, emotionally he became alone. So he did not find any comfort, any solace after he lost his parents. The writer wants to show the worth of parents in the life of a child. That is quite true that parents are really important for everyone, for each and every child, and they feel comfortable, they feel relaxed when they are with their parents. This is really a very good chapter, and I hope you have understood the chapter well. If there is any confusion, if there is any query in your minds, feel free and you can ask the questions by writing in the comment section. So thank you for watching the video patiently. I hope you have understood the topic well. Like and share the video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you with a new video on a new topic. Till then, bye.